This conference will now be recorded.
Because the very next meeting, I was asking about the public meeting, whether we were going to have it.
Gotcha. The time is now 7:16.
It's not gonna stop. Keep on going.
It just
Now it's 7:17.
Do I hear 18?
You get the volume off all the way.
13 years.
There we go. Okay. Time is now 7:17. I apologize for the delay on getting started this evening. It is Monday, August 2nd. We did have some technical difficulties this evening, but we are now up and running. If I could please get everyone to silence your computers online, which it looks like you already have, and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mrs. Anderson, will you please take the roll?
Councilmember Frederick.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Chapman.
Here.
Councilmember Holland.
Present.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Plaza. Councilmember Graham.
Here.
Chair will accept a motion to excuse Mr. Plaza this evening. He has called in.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Rounds, seconded by Councilmember Chapman. Mrs. Rounds, will you please take the roll to excuse Mr. Plaza?
Councilmember Graham.
Yes.
Sorry. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Brown.
Aye.
Councilmember Frederick.
Aye.
I'm just saying that would have been funny. All right, thank you, Mr. Plaza has been excused this evening. Moving on to presentations and proclamations, we have none this evening. Moving on to citizen communications for items not on the agenda. I have no one signed up, not on the agenda. I have no one signed up in the gallery. Is there anyone online that would like to step forward to speak to items not on the agenda? Seeing no one, moving on to citizen communications for items on the agenda. Seeing no one in the gallery signed up for that, is there anyone online that would like to step forward for items on the agenda? Seeing no one, Chair will accept a motion to approve the agenda this evening.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Smith, seconded by Councilmember Chapman. Mrs. Anderson, will you please take the vote?
Councilmember Brown.
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Frederick.
Aye.
The agenda has been approved. The time is now 7:19. We're moving into a public hearing for imposition of a moratorium of the acceptance and processing of applications for permits for the development or expansion of residential uses within the commercial zoning districts in the city of Woodland. I have no one in the gallery that has signed up at this time. Is there anyone online that would like to step forward to speak during this public hearing?
Mr. Mayor, this is
let
Leanne
me-
Bremer.
There you go. Yes, Ms. Bremer. I'll provide you 5 minutes. Please state your name and if you are for or against this moratorium.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Good evening. My name's Leanne Bremer. My address is 500 Broadway, Suite 400, Vancouver, 98660. I am here on behalf of Logan Partners, LLC. I am speaking against the moratorium. And Logan Partners filed a pre-application for mixed-use development that includes commercial and residential uses in the C2 zone on property around Belmont Loop, Franklin on the east side of I-5. And they had they filed their pre-application on June 1st and had their pre-application conference on June 17th. Then 4 days later, at the June 21st meeting, as you all know, you adopted moratorium and then scheduled this public hearing to consider the moratorium. And so it was just 4 days after the pre-application conference. And so, as I mentioned, we are testifying in opposition to the moratorium, at least with respect to my client's project. My first concern, and then it may be a problem with, as we saw earlier, with the technology, but at the June 21st meeting, it was not clear to me after you came out of executive session, there was no video on the council coming back into open session and taking action. And many of you were there, and so I cannot tell if the council reconvened an open session and voted on the moratorium at that time. And in the age of COVID, under the governor's rules, because you have to have a remote option, any action taken at a council meeting must be observable by those online and in person, obviously. So I raised that as a concern. I did not see any evidence that action was taken because the video did not show that. So I'll just leave that out there for comment. The second concern is obviously this moratorium stops my client's project, and given the timing, it's concerning that it was adopted to stop this particular project, and the law does not allow any city or county to adopt or any ordinance to stop a project to prevent it from vesting, to interfere with business expectancies if done for improper motives. And we filed a public records request, and we're still sorting through the responses to that, but we have deep concerns that this moratorium is adopted to stop this particular project. And I understand that the city is concerned about residential uses in the commercial zone, but this project was known to the city, and then immediately the city adopted a moratorium. So I'm here tonight to request that I understand you have larger concerns about residential and commercial zones, but for this project, because there was a pre-application filed and that it was known to the city, that we would ask that the moratorium not apply to it and that it be allowed to go forward. And so I make that request tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else online that is to speak regarding the moratorium for this public hearing this evening online? Seeing no one else, the time is now 7:24. We are out of public hearing. Moving on to reports of City Council. Mrs. Graham. Correct. Correct. Yeah, this evening. Correct.
We haven't had any action on it yet, have we?
That's a question I can't remember.
Gina? We can discuss that in a few moments. We're on reports of City Council at this point.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Oh,
Mrs.
no,
Graham.
I was just waiting my turn.
No, you're fine. Go
No
ahead.
problem. Several weeks ago, it was several of us members sitting here declined to rerun for our positions. And my reasons for that right now have changed. And I believe in our city, country, and God, and especially our law enforcement agencies. And at this time, I have found that I may file a declaration for a write-in vote in candidacy, which I will be doing in the next couple of days, and I will be running for seat position number 6. I feel that this is a very important thing for me to do, and there was only one person running because one person has rescinded his application. So I would appreciate votes when it comes time. And I am very pleased to be able to do this. So if anybody has any questions at a certain time, they may ask me. And I know we are not going to please everybody, but as a statement that I had posted when I first ran 4 years ago, it's not what you know, it's what you learn through all of this. And it is a big learning process, and I want to do the best for our city. So I will be running as a write-in candidate for the general election in November.
Thank you, Mrs. Graham. Any other council members for reports this evening?
I did attend the council or the chamber meeting last week and heard, I think 2 of the candidates
Yes.
for city council, so that was good.
Yes, and that would have been Mr. Belisle, who's in
Yes.
our audience tonight, and Mr. Burke.
Mr. Burke, yes.
Good. Have you had a fair, I can wait for that question when we get to the chamber report. How about that? We're doing a chamber report tonight. Yes, we are. Okay. Anyone else? Seeing none, moving on to reports of standing committees. Public safety.
There was no meeting this afternoon due to the chief being involved with the memorial for our fallen sheriff deputy, which will be held tomorrow. So then our next meeting is the 7th of September.
Thank you. Public works.
We had a meeting today at 5:30, and under water leaks due to the setters. And the reason why they're all going bad is because they've been in the ground about 30 years. So we're having to replace those. The lift station started preventative maintenance on that. We are starting our striping. It's going to happen this month on Gorig after the work that was done on Gorig. And we're looking for a superintendent. We've advertised this month for that, and one for a laborer. And landscaping, we're working on downtown landscaping to get that looking good. And hot summer nights have started. There is no hot summer nights this Friday, but Friday the 13th will be the next one, and it's Monsters Inc. and then Gary Bennett and the Coattail Riders is the band that'll be there.
No Chucky?
No Chucky. The Kiwanis did an amazing job with the roundabout, and the city's ordered a sign to put up to recognize those people for doing that. So. And one other thing too is, I guess we've had a lot of interest in the 100 Davidson property. So, and that's all I have to report.
All right. Questions for Mrs. Rounds? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Mrs. Rounds. Moving on to Chamber of Commerce, Mrs. Graham.
The chamber, of course, we are having our weekly luncheons at Casa Tapatia, 12 o'clock on Tuesdays. We have been very happy to be in-house and discussing and trying to get speakers in to inform us of different things. We are also this Thursday, and I did see that there was a special invitation that came out from our executive director to the council and city staff to join us this Thursday at the Red Leaf over by Walmart on Dyke Access Road. don't know for sure their correct address, but it's there. They are going to have their ribbon cutting ceremony at 5 o'clock. It's open from 5 to 7. And it's also Fiber Federal is also in conjunction with that because they have a nice kiosk inside of Red Leaf. And then also coming up is our golf tournament on August the 20th. If you can come up with some teams or sponsorships yet or gift baskets, we would appreciate that very much. And hopefully come out and have a good time. The visitor center is open 7 days a week, 9 to 4 at this time. And as far as I know, that's all I can come up with right now.
As the candidates that are running for city council office, have they been showing up to the meetings?
Yes, we've had Mr. Belisle and Mr. Burke this past Tuesday, and the Tuesday before that, we had Jennifer Rowland come, and Mr. Aaron Berghaus has stepped down from his candidacy, so that's why I have approached what I have, plan on doing what I'm doing because of that, so that there's somebody running against her.
Okay. Thank you very much. And is it safe to say you'll be speaking tomorrow?
Yes,
Okay.
I will,
just,
apparently.
just asking the question. For a friend. It's for a friend. It's for a friend. Thank you. Questions for Mrs. Graham this evening? All right. Mrs. Rounds.
I haven't attended a meeting yet, but I think they're getting ready this month to start meeting in person.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Mrs. Graham, anything on DWR, Downtown Woodland Revitalization?
Not that I am aware of. That would be.
Ms. Coleman?
Is there any updates on anything, Tracy? I've not.
behind with DWR.
Well, it's just not behind. You've got a lot of projects. The road looks beautiful down there. I would consider that part of DWR.
I
Yeah.
had some individuals talk about putting some banners on the road, and so
Okay.
DWR did the additional area for banners, and I'd like to bring some revenue into that, so I need to get on it. So
Okay.
that's something. I said last council meeting I'd have it ready for this council meeting, and I have not done that yet, my apologies. I'll send a meeting up.
Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on to reports. As Mrs. Graham just stated, chamber after hours this Thursday. And we had a new employee start this last week.
Oh, well, we've had 2 new employees.
Oh, 2 new employees.
Yeah, so we've had one, and Travis.
Oh, that's right. I met her today. Yeah.
So we had one at City Hall, we had one at Public Works. So
Yes.
we have Reese that's working in our parks, so not in our parks, but on our streets and street crews, and Travis we talked about.
And Amanda Hogan has been brought in as a temporary clerk for the front office.
Yes.
She started today.
Good. And then also, as Mrs. Round stated, 100 Davidson's been getting a lot of traction since we've rented that out to the school group for that short-term lease. We've had a number of interested parties. So we are revisiting that conversation on what we're going to do with that building, just because of all the interest. The last time we went out for an RFP, we got one application back, and with all the new interest, I think that we're gonna try and do something fun here. So try to go out again and see what kind of applications we can get. On your agenda this evening on action item D, as in David, you have resolution 739, the Transportation Benefit District, to be sent to the voters in November. I highly encourage council to approve that. It's about time that this will be our third opportunity or our third time putting this on the ballot. And it is an opportunity for those citizens that live outside of Woodland to help pay for the infrastructure that they use on a daily basis. At this time, I will be signing up for the the 4 committee, or the 4 person to write the please vote for this. That will be going in the pamphlet. So I will be handling that. That's how important this is to me at this time. We get a lot of complaints about our transportation. And as you take it to our local news outlet, the face of Facebook, the face of Woodland. What's the name of it? The Voice of Woodland. Thank you. I've got a lot of things going on.
That's not
the group anybody
The-
posts this shit.
No,
So-
sorry, let me just, on social media, our news organization is social media. There's a lot of complaints from folks about our transportation, the fact that we're not doing anything about it as the mayor's office, as a city council. And it's really frustrating because we've been working on transportation projects and Exit 21 for years. So it's really sad that folks think that we're literally sitting here collecting paychecks. And we're not. So I will be putting the information in the voters pamphlet for that because I think it's that important. And ironically, the people that are complaining are the ones that don't live inside the city. So, or contributing to the financial overall impact.
Say it ain't so.
Yeah, I know. So I encourage council to approve that with the understanding that we're going to go out and we're going to educate the community, and hopefully folks can start paying their fair share. Mr. Boyce has been out for the last 2 weeks on vacation. He'll be back next week. But things in the office have been running quite fantastically thanks to the team that is sitting at the table over there. So we appreciate them. And the move with Public Works has been completed, and they are now all in City Hall. So the group is back together with the exception of our police officers. So obviously they have their own office, but everyone is in one location, one-stop shopping, and it's looking awesome in there. So thank you everyone for your hard work there. And also one more note for Chief Kelly. I know he's not here this evening just due to the planning purposes that he's doing for Sergeant Jeremy Brown's memorial tomorrow. Couldn't be happier with the representation that he's giving to the city right now. He was asked to come down and do that. The job that he's doing for them, the organization and the planning of that, due to the fantastic job he did unfortunately for the other one that happened here in Cowlitz County. So very proud of Chief Kelly and the job that he's doing out there. So he's still in touch, but after tomorrow, we should all be back to our normal roles. So with that, Mr. Randolph. Mrs. Anderson. Mr. Goddard.
So the only thing I didn't get a chance to update last meeting was our website update. For those of you who've been seeing emails or following along, Melissa Johnston and her team have been doing an excellent job liaising with the new website company. They've developed a couple of mock-up pages, and we are working on coordinating, transferring over our existing information and pages to the new website. So we should have a working model for that pretty quick. I think we're aiming for October go live date. And so Melissa and her team are specifically, so the timeline is we'll have a couple weeks to respond. They do a week or two to implement what we ask for, and then it's back to us. They give us a couple weeks to respond. But we're specifically trying to take, instead of 2 weeks to respond, 2 days to respond. So we can eliminate, 10 or 12 days on each round of go-between. Melissa's doing her best to try and shorten that timeline to get it live as soon as possible. So I wanted to point out that hopefully that'll be up and running pretty soon, and we'll have a new way to communicate with the public that's a lot more friendly and easier to navigate. So,
It's of this century.
yes.
And ADA approved.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Questions for Mr. Goddard? All right. Thank you, Mr. Goddard. Public Works, Miss Coleman.
We already talked about it.
Okay. Great questions for Public Works. Mrs. Graham.
Just, Ms. Coleman, if you could put on the calendar of the banners on our new poles downtown for next June, the third weekend, or before that, for our 100-year Planners Day celebration. We will be getting banners for that.
So it's for next June.
Yes, June of 22.
Okay, so I'll put a note in it, but you gotta do the banner application, so I recommend that you do it on January 1st.
Okay. Can I refer to Mr. Belisle? It means that he is our Planners Day president. That
Or
note.
whatever the first day of January is, business day, just shoot an email. But I'll send an email to Kathy who puts it on her calendar.
Oh.
June 12th.
Thank you.
2022.
June the
Yeah, it would be that week.
Yeah, June for 2022, yes.
Okay. All right.
And then I also have another question. I
What?
know, I'm sorry.
It's not
I
me.
welcome that.
Oh, okay. The community center, ma'am. I have a TOPS group that ladies have not been participating, and they won't come back until we get back into the community center. If there are any rules or regulations that we need to do as far as making sure we bring our Clorox wipes or whatever we need to wipe the tables down, because usually all we use is the chairs. And then we just use the front tables. We'd be more than happy to take care of that because our ladies would really like to be back into the community center.
So, can I respond? Okay. So in regards to any of the rental facilities, we have contracts that are signed, as you know, when you rent any of the facilities, whether they're payment for it or not.
Right.
One of the things we're fixing on the contracts is language due to COVID. So nobody can come back to the city stating that you didn't clean and I got COVID using the rental.
Right.
So I'm in charge of, Travis gave this to me probably 3 weeks ago. The hard copies of all the rental contracts for the facilities around town. And I told him that I would work on that language, get it to Frank. I have
Okay.
not done that.
Okay.
And so I'm feeling kind of bad right now because I think I've said 3 things already today that I have not done. But I did do the DWR where we're talking, just so you know. So anyway, I will get the contract over to Frank to review.
Okay.
The language, just to make sure we have that language in there and keep the city's liability.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
that's the reason why we haven't done it yet, because we have to revise those contracts.
because they keep asking me every week and I keep calling every week at 9:15 and finding out, no, not yet. So,
Are you talking to Travis?
no, whoever answers the office,
Oh,
the
okay.
phone.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And the other.
I will get on that.
Okay. And then just make sure that I get whatever you come up with.
Yeah. It's just language that so when somebody signs it, they know that we're not liable for it.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
The other hiccup we have with this is we discovered that the website, the existing website, has electronic submittal forms, and those forms are currently turned off, so you can't do reservations. And unfortunately, the staff member who was kind of our web guru is no longer with the city. So in addition to this update, it's not just Tracy. We are trying to figure out how to restart the reservation calendar and reservation process. So it's not just Tracy's fault. There are a couple hiccups in the system.
I would fill out real paper. Thank you.
Yeah, I would prefer that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Moving on to consent items.
Move to approve the consent items.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Chapman, second by Councilmember Smith. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Graham?
Aye.
Councilmember Frederick?
Aye.
Councilmember Brown?
Aye.
The consent items have passed. Moving on to action item D, Resolution 739, Transportation Benefit District.
Move to adopt resolution number 739.
I'll second.
Moved by Councilmember Fredericks, seconded by Councilmember Rounds. Councilmember Fredericks.
I think this is an important, it's important for our city that we move forward with transportation funding. If it's easy to go online and say that there's money there for this, unfortunately there is not. If there were, I would have found it by now. What this does is it creates a funding source for all of the folks that are coming to our city and spending money and impacting our roads. This allows to be able to create additional monies that can be used for matching dollars for grants to get substantial road work done in our community. That's how you fix this. If you do not have a funding source, your roads are going to continue to be, let's say, not to the level that they should be. So I encourage the council to adopt this. Let the voters decide. This is a excellent way to raise money for the city because everyone who comes to the city will be spending to improve the roadway system. The only thing that I would say is just make sure that when you're putting in a council agenda summary together, that you actually put it together with correct wording. This is not an artistic dance resolution that we are measuring. It's a ballet. It's been referred to as a ballet a couple times in here, so vowels do matter, at least on this copy. So, but other than that, I think that this is certainly something that the voters should consider in our community.
Mrs. Rounds,
I concur with Mr. Fredericks.
further discussion? Apparently, I don't follow
Rules for thee, not for me.
Somebody does have a
my own rules.
Rules for thee, not for me.
Yeah, sorry. Apologize for that. Further discussion, Mr. Smith.
So this is saying in here it'll raise about $300K per year for the 34 miles of roads that we have.
Yes.
And the number we need is actually $500,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
A year.
A year.
As more
Right.
businesses come to town, though, then the more tax dollars we would receive.
Correct.
All right. Seeing nothing further, will the clerk please take the roll on action item D, resolution 739?
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham,
Aye.
Councilmember Frederick,
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman.
aye.
Action item D has passed. Moving on to action item E, ordinance number 1488, amending Woodland Municipal Code 2.88 regarding maintenance of an index of records for public disclosure, final reading.
Move adoption of ordinance number 1488.
Second,
Moved by Councilmember Fredericks, seconded by Councilmember Chapman. Councilmember Fredericks.
No discussion.
Councilmember Chapman.
no comment.
Further discussion. Seeing none, will the clerk please take the roll on ordinance number 1488, final reading?
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Graham.
Aye.
Councilmember Frederick,
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds,
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Ordinance number 1488 has passed. Moving on to action item F. Application 21-001- is that application? What is that? Appeal, sorry. Appeal -21-001. Authorize mayor to sign city council's decision to deny the appeal for the Belmont Loop RV Park conditional use permit and uphold the hearing examiner's ruling.
So moved.
Second,
Moved by Councilmember Fredericks, second by Councilmember Chapman. Councilmember Fredericks.
This is consistent with the action that was already taken by the council at the last meeting. The only thing that I would ask, and I think this should be put on Mr. Randolph's plate, is I would like to look to have it to where this comes out of council's hands for judicial matters in this nature. I find it very difficult to do my job as a city council member, which is to do with what the will of the folks want. But when I'm put in a situation where I have to be the judge, it forces me to go against what I may want to do from a political standpoint. And I find that to be a very odd feeling in this case. I agree with a lot of what was said by the folks that are, I guess, the folks that have appealed here. But unfortunately, legally, the question that's before us is, did the hearings examiner apply the law to the facts? He did. Therefore, I cannot do what I would really like to do because I have no legal basis to do that. And I hate being put into that kind of situation. And I would hope that we'd have a majority of this body that would ask to be removed from that type of situation and to encourage Mr. Randolph to find a way to where we are not put in that type of position moving forward. So that's what I would ask. But this is something that I think that we need to authorize the mayor to sign, which is consistent with action taken at the previous meeting by the council.
Councilmember Chapman.
I agree with that. Councilmember Fredericks, exactly what it is. You have judicial and legislative, and this is one of those gray areas where it kind of mucks in between, and we need to separate it. And we got a little hiccup here, and we found it where we can have Mr. Randolph look at it and clear it up so we don't have this little hiccup anymore, and the appeals can go the right way it's supposed to. So I think this is a good way to do it. Even, like I said, I don't agree with our decision of, or agree with it, but the way it come about it, I just don't like, I don't want to set the city up for.
Further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please take the roll on action item F, Appeal 21-001.
Councilmember Brown?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
No.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Frederick?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Action item F passes 5-1. Moving on to public action item G, Public Works. Authorize mayor to sign professional services agreement amendment in the amount of $9,500 for engineering services with Gibbs and Olson for inspection of Garrig ADA ramp and overlay project, TIB grant.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Smith, seconded by Councilmember Round. Councilmember Smith.
Sounds like it went over a little bit on costs, but we're still on the budget. And work's already been done. We need to pay it.
Councilmember Rounds.
No comment.
Further discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please take the roll on action item G?
Councilmember Frederick?
Aye.
Councilmember Rounds?
Aye.
Councilmember Chapman?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Brown?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Moving on to portion for adjournment this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Round, seconded by Councilmember Smith. All in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? The time is now 7:53. That concludes our meeting. Thank you, everybody.
She get me out of here by 8 o'clock.